Hey guys, it's Ryan here with DP Marketing.Services. Thanks for tuning in with another Wednesday video coming at you. So if you're new to this channel or it's the first time finding us, DP Marketing.Services, we work with plumbing and HVAC and electrical contractors to help them grow their business using the internet. Because let's face it, most guys are kind of pissed off and frustrated by how much they've spent on marketing and how little they have to show for it. So our proven process helps these guys get more leads, get more calls, get the revenue that they're looking for. And we work with contractors all across the country and actually Canada as well. So thanks for tuning in. Coming at you with a video that's a little bit unique for us. So typically if you watch this channel, we talk about marketing things like AdWords or local services, SEO. Those things are interesting and helpful and needed. But there's another aspect that more and more trades, men and women are coming into contact with, is this idea of multiple generations that are present in your workforce and then also with your customer base. And it's important for you as a business owner, as a business manager, as a marketing director of a shop to understand what this means for your business. So let's talk really quickly, and let's say that these are generations that are in your company. So these are employees, these are contractors you use. Generally speaking, there are 5 active generations in the workforce right now. So you could be any one of these 5. Now, if I'm really honest, one of the 5 is fading out pretty hard among the trades, but generally speaking, we still want to consider that. So the first is what we're going to call like a traditionalist. These are going to be the older people on your company who have been around a while. These have been born pre-1945. And what's interesting about them is that they have a lot of kind of hard world experience that has impacted how they think about business. So you think about their parents were part of the Great Depression. They either were part of both world wars, like World War I, World War II. Work to them is an obligation, but they're very loyal. So you think about what these guys would do. Their generation was one where you'd go to school, you'd go and do your military service, and then you'd join one company and you do service with that one company your entire life. And really, that's what they did. And so they would commit their entire life to that third sphere. You know, there's maybe like there was their family sphere. There's maybe like a social sphere at like church or something, and then also that they would do a work sphere. So you have those guys. In the trades, that's a smaller portion now, but there are still pockets of these guys that are present. You have boomers, which is exactly what it sounds like. These guys are going to be between the years 1946 to 1965. These, as a generation, these guys experienced television becoming mainstream. They experienced the moon landing. They're part of Watergate and Vietnam War. Work is expected. It's not an obligation. It's something that you are expected to do. But what they aspire, what drives them, is the sense of job security. So they're going to be harder to change. They're going to be harder to pick up a new way of business or a new method or a new tool because they want this sense of security and stability. That's what we did 5 years ago. That's what we'll be doing in 5 years. And this is a big part of what it's like to have them on your team. The next type of person is a Gen Xer. There's a lot of like definitions about Gen Xers. We typically think about them like 1966 to 1977. This is like the MTV generation, right? They grew up with Nintendo. They grew up with like PCs in their home. Work for this group it's a challenge. And what this group really wants is this idea of work-life balance and independence. So it's very different right away from the boomers where it's like it's expected that you work. This Gen X group now is coming up and they're like, but we need this sense of balance. We need family, we need friends, we need time off. And work is a challenge. And so it's one of these things where you have to keep this group in mind. You have the millennial group, which is just even 5 or 10 years ago was kind of like this idea of this, what are they going to do in the workforce? And now they're coming in the workforce en masse. This group is like between 1978 and 1995. I have some personal disagreements with that kind of range of ages. However, thinking about what this millennial group is, they've been exposed to, since they've been born, natural disasters, They saw like the Oklahoma City bombing, if you remember that. That was a formative event for them. Work for this group is a means to an end. For millennial, they might have other goals and aspirations. Maybe they want to travel the world, see other cultures, maybe they want new experiences. Work for them is only fundraising. They will not commit like the traditionalist would to be with the company for 20, 30, 40, 50 years of their life. They will work to the highest bidder, whoever gives them the most benefits, to allow them the lifestyle that they're looking for. And so thinking about this in your company, it's going to be a challenge to adjust your management style and your company structure to make sure that you are attracting this group of millennials, you're keeping and training this group of millennials. They're not going to grow up. The thing that a lot of Gen Xers and Boomers think about millennials is like, well, they'll grow out of it. Trick is, that's not how generations work. That's what's going to define this generation as they get older, in the same way that Watergate defined your generation or World War II defined someone else's generation. That's what it's going to look like for these. And then lastly, there's a lot of names getting thrown around for this. We'll just call it Gen 2020. These are post-1995. For this group, the Twin Towers in New York City have always been down. They might have been alive when they fell, but they weren't old enough to process the event. So they don't have that sense of trauma associated with that. And honestly, since this group's been alive, the United States has always been with this like war on terror. So they always know this like military deployed combat. They know the economic volatility. So 2007, 2008's economic collapse. This group was young enough to remember and feel the pain. They're also have been exposed to ideas like global warming. Work for this group is going to be constantly evolving. They want new methods, new means, new options, and they're still too young to show what this group is going to look for, but it will be interesting to see what they aspire with work as they age. So you probably have some of these in your business right now. And there's all sorts of books and resources that are out there to help manage these different sorts of generations. My point in like addressing this is not to think that one is better than the other, not that millennials are better than boomers or that Gen Xers haven't figured out. It's that we're all different, and as a business owner and as a business manager, you need to understand what makes these different generations of people tick, and how do you do as a manager the best work to actually attract, retain, and inspire these groups of people to work for your business and stay with your business and to help your business become more profitable. Now, the thing is, it also works for your customer standpoint also. Your customers are just like the people that you're hiring, except you're going to find that you're going to reach different customers in different ways. So for traditionalists and baby boomers, you're going to find that more traditional means of marketing is going to be very effective with them. So this would be things like home shows, this would be things like yellow pages. Those people still, because that's a part of their life for so long, they still keep that a part of their like resource base. When you start talking to a millennial, a lot of them don't even know what a phone book is. So, and here's like a story from like my own personal life, right? So I have a son, he's under 10 at the time of making this video, but when he was very, very young, I remember we went to my parents' house and we were watching TV, just like programming TV, like normal over-the-air TV, like I grew up with. And it's interesting because for him, he's only grown up in a world where on-demand TV is a thing. He's got Netflix and he's got Google Play and he's got all these other sources where if he wants to watch a show, he can watch whatever show he wants whenever he wants. And so we're watching this TV station, right, doing their normal programming. A commercial comes on, and I want to say he was under a year old. He was very young. And he started swiping the TV screen in the living room, thinking that if he swiped away the commercial, he can get back to the programming that he wanted. So even at a young age, this Gen 2020 is starting to think about the world and what they encounter and what they experience differently than what I did, differently than what my parents did as they grow up and interact with the world. Even when it comes down to the customer preference or how they want to communicate. So there's a lot of great software tools that help, like when a tech is dispatched, it'll send a text to the customer, hey, here's who's coming out, here's what they look like, They'll be here in 15 minutes, whatever. For the millennial and for the Gen 2020, those aren't just like features or benefits or nice to haves. Those are essentials. That's all that they've known. For boomers, it's like, well, that's really cool, but they've never known that. But for the younger generation coming up, it's becoming more and more important. So this means for your business, you need to make sure that you're keeping in mind your market base as well. As your customers age, you need to be replacing your marketing methods for the older segment with marketing segments or marketing methods for the younger segments as well. So Facebook is gonna be really great for people late 20s up to 45, maybe 50 years old. If you're trying to target younger than 30, Facebook's probably not the best channel. You're gonna be looking at things like Twitter and Instagram are social networks that those guys look at all the time. So we actually have a chapter about it in our book, the book on digital marketing for plumbing and HVAC contractors. I'll put a link below. But think about the generations, how you keep them engaged, how you keep them motivated. I know there's so much to this topic. I'm already over 10 minutes, and we are scratching the surface on each one of these segments. But I guess what I wanted to just throw out there was the idea that as a business owner, you need to think about these 5 generations as they relate in your business, as a manager of the sorts of benefits and sort of structure and sort of expectations that you have for them. But then also for your customer base, that you're keeping in mind these 5 different segments. How do you reach them? How do you engage them? How do you nurture them? How do you create lifelong loyal customers with 5 unique generations? It would be a mistake to lump them all together as one. They are not. They're unique, and one's not better than the other. So I know there's a lot here, and I know I'm just like scratching the surface, but I'd love to hear from you. What do you think about this? What practices does your company do with the multiple generations of the workforce? What do you do with multiple generations in your customer base, in your lead pool? How do you engage with them? Let me know. Leave a comment below. As always, guys, follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube. We love to keep these videos coming. I'd love to know what you think. So guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk soon.